let's evaluate together some trigonometric numbers. So the first number that we will consider to evaluate is the number cosinus of negative pi thirds. This number right here. First of all, what we need to focus is what is the trigonometric number that we want to evaluate and what is our angle. As you can see, the angle right here is negative pi thirds. We want to evaluate the cosine. The cosine is nothing else than the x-coordinate of the terminal point of the given angle. So, if we manage to find the given angle on the unit circle, then we will also be able to identify the cosinus of that angle. So let's focus now on the angle. The angle is negative pi thirds. Before we calculate the cosinus of negative pi thirds, let's try to evaluate the cosinus of pi thirds. How would we do that? Well, again, we need to find the angle and then focus on the terminal point of that and on the x-coordinate of that point. So the first thing that we need to do is go around the circle and try to find where is the angle pi thirds. Well, pi thirds is right here. So this means that the angle pi thirds is the angle that is given by this array with the x-axis. So this angle right here is the angle pi thirds. The next thing that we need to do is to find the terminal point of that angle. And the terminal point is right here. Then we want to find the cosinus, and the cosinus will be the x-coordinate. The x-coordinate will be the 1/2. So the cosinus of pi third is nothing else than 1/2. And this is how we calculate the cosinus of pi thirds. What happens now if they give us a negative angle? Okay, let's try to find the cosinus of a very simple negative angle, that is the negative pi. In general, for positive angles, we move counterclockwise. So we start at the point 1, 0 and we move this of the circle on the counterclockwise direction until we find the angle that we want to find. What happens if the angle is negative? The only thing that changes is that instead of going upwards, counterclockwise, now we will go clockwise. So the negative angles will be given by the clockwise movement, the positive angles will be given by the counterclockwise movement. Okay, now we want to calculate the cosine of negative pi. So we need to find the negative pi. Negative pi will be when we complete exactly pi angle on the clockwise direction. Remember that pi is nothing else than half our circle. So what you see right here is the pi angle. And this will have a terminal point. And the terminal point is this. So our angle is basically the entire angle from here to here. It's negative because we move on the opposite direction of what we usually move. The terminal point is the one that you see right here. Since we want to find the cosinus, we focus on the x coordinate. So the cosine of negative pi will be nothing else than -1. Assume now that we want to find the sine of negative pi half. Again, the first thing that we want to see is our angle. It's negative, so this means that we move on the clockwise version, starting from 1, 0 and going down. Then we want to find the sine, so this means that we will focus on the y-coordinate of the terminal point. And then we want to complete pi halves. Starting from the point 1, 0, I want to find the pi halves. The pi halves is going to be right here. Now, why it's right here? Well, if you go clockwise, counterclockwise, the pi halves is right here. What is the pi halves? Well, the pi half angle is nothing else than the right angle. So if you look at your right angle right here, you will realize that the entire circle is split into 4 pi halves. So this means that the only thing that you should consider is start at the 1, 0 and move until you reach the 1/4 of your circle. And this will be at this point right here. The terminal point will be the 0, -1. The y-coordinate of that is -1, so the sine of negative pi half will be -1. Let's go ahead now and try to calculate the cosine of negative pi thirds. Okay, again we have a negative angle. We need to find out how we are going to find these negative pi thirds. Well, look at your circle. Half of the circle is nothing else than pi. If you want to find pi thirds, this means that half of your circle has 3 total pi thirds. So if you split your circle into 3 equal pieces, your half circle into 3 equal pieces, this, and that, then each one of those has, from here to here, the distance is pi thirds. Now we need to do exactly the same, but for the part of the circle that is under the x-axis. Why? Because we have a negative sign. So we want to go and find the negative pi thirds from there. So we need to move from here and move on until we have completed pi thirds of the circle. So what we need to do basically is again to split this half of the circle into a total of 3 pieces, 3 equal pieces, this, and that. So this is the one piece, this is the second piece, this is the third piece. But we want exactly negative pi thirds, 1 pi third. So what we want, it is this piece right here. So this means that we find ourselves at 5 pi thirds, and the terminal point of that is this. We are looking for the cosine, so this is going to be 1/2. So the cosine of negative pi thirds is nothing else than 1/2. Let's assume now that we want to calculate the sine of 7 pi 6. 7 pi 6. So the first thing that we are focusing is on our angle. We want a positive angle right here. 7 pi 6. What we need to do is start from here, move on, and cover 7 pi 6. If you want, you can look at your unit circle and find out where the pi 6 are. So this piece of the pi is a pi 6th. Then an equal piece like that will be this piece. And another equal piece will be this piece. So this angle right here is pi 6th. This angle right here is also pi 6. This is also pi 6. Pi 6, pi 6, and pi 6. But if you count them, you will see that you are at the first, second, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you come down here, and you are at the 7 pi 6th. So the angle 7 pi 6 is nothing else than what you see right here. And let me make it into blue so you can exactly see how much this 7 pi 6th is this angle right here. So the only thing that I did basically was I was counting pi 6. 1 pi 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want 7 of them. So see, here is where I am. This is the ray that ends up to the terminal point that you see right here. I want the sine of the 7 pi 6. So I'm looking at the y-coordinate, and this is going to be nothing else than -1. So the sine of 7 pi 6 is equal to -1/2. Let's find now the tan of 13 pi 4ths. We will see what the tan is. For the moment we focus on our angle. And the angle is 13 pi 4ths. So what we need to do is first of all understand how big is the piece of the circle, of the unit circle, that is pi 4ths. Here is the pi 4ths. You can see it right here. So the piece is right here. This is your piece. So this is 1 pi 4ths. The second one will be right here. This is the second pi 4ths. So basically what you need to do is count 13 of them. Let's split the circle into pi 4ths so we don't get confused. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you can see, I move counterclockwise because I have a positive angle. I am at 8 right here, so I need to move on and repeat my circle. 9, 10, 11, 12, and this is, 12, and this is number 13. So this means this is the 13th pi 4th of my circle, right here. And it ends where? At this terminal point. So these are the numbers that I have to consider. Now I'm looking for the tan of this angle. I'm looking for the tan of 13 pi 4ths. Okay, beautiful. What is the tan? The tan is sine over cosine. What is sine? The y-coordinate over the x-coordinate. The y-coordinate here is negative square root of 2 over 2 divided by negative square root of 2 over 2, that is the cosine, the x. I simplify. As you can see, the numerator and the denominator are equal, so my answer is 1. So this means that tan of negative 13 pi 4ths is nothing else than 1. Okay, let's find one more trigonometric number, and this will be the cotangent of negative 7 pi 6. So first of all, I need to see that my angle is negative. So I need to move this way. But before I do that, I need to realize how big of pieces I need to move every time. Pi 6. What is pi 6? I find right here my pi 6, And as you can see, the pi 6 is this big, as much as this says. In general, the pi, meaning the half of the circle right here, is going to have a total of 6 pi 6. So of 6 pieces that they are equal as pi 6. Okay, I need to find now to split my circle, my entire circle, if this helps you, into pi 6. So that's the one that I have is my first, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, this is the fifth, this is the sixth, this is the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th, 11th, and the 12th. Now, I need to move this direction. I need to move in this direction. Why? Because I have a negative sign. And I need to count exactly 7 pi 6. So let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this means that I end right here. So basically this means that my angle is going to be from here until here. And this is the angle negative 7 pi 6. Okay, so I look at my ray, that is this one, and I find the point that is the terminal point. The terminal point is this one. I have the trigonometric numbers, and now I have to remember what is the cotangent. The cotangent is cosine over sine. And this is nothing else than x over y. My x coordinate is square root of 3 over 2, as you can see right here. And the y coordinate is nothing else than 1/2. I simplify, and my result is negative square root of 3. So this means that the cotangent of negative 7 pi 4 is negative square root of 3.